All right, you guys, you are in for a treat this week. I know you're always in for a treat, but I'm so excited that you are here listening or watching to the Anxious Creative Podcast. This week, I have my Rock Your Business alumni, mastermind member, Jen Shattuck, coming on the podcast today to share with you guys her story of transformation and inspiration. You are gonna love her. She is just the sweetest person you'll ever meet. So let's dive in to this week's episode. Oh my gosh, let's get going.
I overthink, I overshare, and I overanalyze. So come explore with me as I chat about business, life, and relationships, all through the lens of an anxious creative. All right, I am here with my friend and student, Jen Shattuck, all the way from Oregon. Welcome.
Thank you. Hi.
I love how the internet gets us like connecting with each other from all, I know we're not actually physically that far apart. It would probably only take like maybe 18 hours of driving. I don't know. Do you have any idea how long it would take?
A short plane ride.
A short plane ride, like a 2 hour, maybe not even 2 hour.
Yeah, maybe.
It takes me an hour and a half to get to Seattle.
Oh, okay. So yeah, probably closer to 2.5.
Yeah. So now that we've got that figured out, tell everybody a little bit in a Cole's Note version, like who is Jen? What do you do? How long have you been in the industry? Yeah, just a quick little synopsis of your life.
So I'm Jen. I've been in the industry for 14 years.
Wow. That's awesome.
And a little bit longer if you count schooling, just because I actually started in high school.
No way.
Cosmetology course, and I didn't know how to do anything except for messily paint my nails and give myself some nice heavy eyeliner.
Yeah.
But so I did 2 years of it in high school before.
Cool. I didn't know that because I did a cosmetology in high school too. Did you know that about me?
Cool. Yeah.
Yeah. I was like, this will be an easy credit and it'll boost my average.
Oh yeah. See, I just thought it would be fun, and I didn't know how to do any of that. And I had to write an essay, which I usually hate writing. So I had to write an essay to get in the class, and I did it. And
you had to write an essay to get into cosmetology class.
Yeah, it was the first year that they were offering it. And
interesting.
And you had to write an essay to get in.
So at what point did you fall in love with doing hair?
Going through the class, I found a lot of the stuff really interesting. And I just found that it worked for me. Like I could do it. I'm a crafty kind of person, and I think it just kind of went along with that kind of thing. And, I just really liked it. I also like it when I get straight A's in a class, and I did that.
Nice.
It doesn't happen very often. I'm usually, the B average.
Yeah, I think I sabotaged myself. I had like a 89 or 90 average at midterm, and I was like, sweet, now I can just coast. And then it just like dropped 10%.
Yeah.
Very quickly. So did you go to hair school right after high school then? Or what made you decide to go to it for further education?
I really liked it. Before taking cosmetology in high school, I didn't know what I wanted to do. I was just planning on racking up those school bills and being a professional student.
Yeah.
So it was really nice to have a direction to go in. And I ended up getting a very small scholarship to one of the local hair schools. And so I went there.
That's amazing. And where did you grow up?
I grew up in New Hampshire.
Oh, wow. So you live in Oregon now. Did I say that right? Oregon? Yeah. Oregon Trail.
Schooled when I learned. I would say Oregon, and like, no, it's Oregon.
Yeah. That's like people say, I'm coming to Calgary, and I'm like, oh, it's Calgary.
Yeah, Calgary.
Not Calgary. But people, when someone's not from the place when they say it.
My old town in New Hampshire, people, telemarketers would always say Nashua.
Oh, Nashua.
I don't have to pronounce the U so hard.
You're like, clearly a telemarketer. Okay, so you're in New Hampshire and you're working there. For how long did you stay there for?
So I stayed in the same salon, fresh out of school, for about 9 years.
Wow.
And, I had almost the same clientele the whole time. It
Hmm.
was basically just basic root touch-ups, 6N,
Yeah.
and um, and just a trim haircut. They never wanted anything different, so I did the same things on the same people all the time. New people terrified me. I hated
Yeah.
rotating the salon because I didn't know what to do. I always saw the same people, did the same things.
You hadn't been able to just be creative.
Yeah, I hadn't been able to be creative. Yep.
And
We
so,
actually did our highlights, were cap highlights.
really?
So,
So when you moved to Oregon, that was the first time you started doing foils?
yes,
And that's only 5 years ago.
that was only 5 years ago.
Wow, Jen, that's amazing. I had no idea.
Yeah,
So that must have been scary.
it was super scary. One, all new people because I knew nobody over here,
Yeah.
and two, completely different kind of hair than I was used to doing. So
Yeah.
I had to learn a lot and learn it quick.
So
And
what inspired the move?
I just really was done with New Hampshire. I wasn't happy where I was working. I hated the cold in the winter. I absolutely hate the cold.
Yeah.
And I had been wanting to move someplace warmer for a long time.
Yeah.
Uh, there was one point where I was going to move to Florida, and that didn't happen. And then my dad moved to California, and I was like, it is beautiful here. I'm going to move to California. And so I was setting things up to move to California. And then I met this guy online, you know.
Yeah.
Uh,
That's
and
how me and my guy met.
yeah. Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Nice.
I
And
love this. We have like we went to cosmetology in high school. We met our partners online.
yeah.
Okay, so you were going to move to California, but you met
Yeah.
the guy
When I met,
online.
yeah, when I met him. And I ended up moving to Oregon to be with
Good.
him instead. I figured, if it doesn't go right, California's right there
Yeah.
and it's still a lot closer. It's supposed to be warmer than New Hampshire. And,
Is it?
yeah, it is.
Oh, good. Good.
There's less humidity, which is
Hmm.
awesome. And then in the winter, it just rains. It doesn't really snow. If it snows, everything shuts down. So I get to do my favorite winter activity, which is sit inside and just see the snow outside, and it looks pretty. And
Yeah.
then it's on the next day. You don't have to
Yeah.
shovel it or anything.
Nice. Because would you consider yourself an introverted person?
I would most of the time. Yep. I'm
Yeah.
like an introverted or an extroverted introvert.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so moving across the country, because that's similar to my story as well. I didn't move completely across the country, but I moved a fair distance and started over. As scary as that was it really exciting and freeing at the same time?
It was, yeah. It was, pretty scary, but mostly I was done with where I was at, so I was
Yeah.
ready for a new adventure, and it
Hmm.
was really cool. It was perfect. I love it here.
And so when you arrived, did you have a job or to walk us through like the beginnings of, no clientele clearly?
No clientele.
What did career-wise, what did that look like for you? How did you get back into the groove and how did you deal with all the newness and probably the overwhelming newness and stress of that?
Lots of crying. That's
Yeah.
what I do. But mostly it was I had never had so much time off, so I decided I had some money saved up. I would just
Hmm.
take the summer off and just,
Nice.
explore the new place and,
Hmm.
settle into things before looking for a job. So I took the summer off, and then I went through all my money. I really needed a job and I didn't know what to do. So I just decided to go to a place that was like walk-ins only and try that out. And I learned a lot doing that.
I
Um,
bet.
yeah, I had to learn a lot more new cutting techniques, and I didn't have cap highlights to rely on anymore, and I didn't get that many root touch-up people. Um, so I had to get used to and learn foiling highlights and all the new um, coloring techniques that are out there these days.
And were you doing Vivits at that point?
I had vivids in my own hair, but I didn't ever do them back home unless it was on a couple of friends here and there. Um,
Okay.
so, and the place that I was working at, this walk-in place, was an alternative kind of place that did do more vivids. So that was when I first started getting into doing more vivids.
I love that. And do you exclusively do them now?
I
Almost?
don't exclusively do them, but that's most of what I do. Yeah,
Yeah.
most of my business is vivids.
So for someone that's listening that's like, oh my gosh, I want to move across the country, or I just want to move to a new city or a new town, what would be the words of advice or encouragement? Because I feel like if both you and I can do it, anyone can do it, right? It's not that we are like the most confident people in the world. We had to really work on that confidence muscle. And you went from not even doing foils to like, you not only changed location, but you changed techniques as well, which I think is so inspiring. What would you say to someone that's like, oh, I want that, but I don't know if I'm cut out for it?
Um, a lot of it's just sometimes you just gotta go for it, and it helps if you. For me, with with the new techniques and foiling and stuff like that, I had to practice, and that helped gain a lot more confidence in myself, which was helpful. And
Mm-hmm.
but like do some research. Research helps too. I feel like I
Yeah.
I looked up all the places that I was looking at going to and what they were about and that kind of thing. And yeah, so
So how did you land where, so now you're self-employed, but you work in a space with other people, right?
yeah.
How did you make that transition? Because you not only went from being an employee, okay, you were an employee, you moved across the country, you became an employee again, you kind of had to start learning more techniques, and now, you're self-employed. How long have you been self-employed, and how did you make that transition?
I've been self-employed for 2.5 years now.
Amazing.
Yeah. And one of the major things that made me take that leap finally, you know, 13 years into the business, was working at a salon that was not a good fit. But
Mm-hmm.
the one good thing that came out of it was the owner of this particular place. This was after the walk-in only place. Um, she really wanted to go to a ISSE, um,
Mm.
the the hair show in
Yeah.
California, and I hadn't been to a hair show since high school, and so we went, and I went to all of the classes, and one of those classes was a business class, and they talked about things that I had no idea about. And it was just amazing to learn. And it really lit a fire in me. So when we went back home after going through a bunch of hair technique classes and a couple of business classes, um, and being in this salon that just was not a good fit for me, you know, going home stressed out and upset most days,
Mm-hmm.
it it lit a fire in me to actually get out of that and go somewhere where I had a little bit more control over these kinds of things. And I finally called up this place and asked about renting a chair.
Amazing. And did you ever picture yourself being a business owner before that?
No, no.
No.
I did some of the book work at the salon that I worked at in New Hampshire, and
Mm-hmm.
so I knew some of the background of what would go into, um, you know, being a business owner. And I was
Right.
like, ugh, why? No, that's such a headache. Why would I want to
The,
do that? Let
yeah.
somebody else deal with that.
And so in the last 2.5 years, what are some of the major things you've learned about yourself and about being a business owner?
So I actually like the back end of the business stuff. I like going through spreadsheets um, and seeing, where the money's coming from and where it's going, and doing
Mm-hmm.
inventory and things like that. So,
Yeah. Something that you probably would have dragged your feet on before, but realizing, oh, I actually kind of like this.
yeah, all the things that I was like, ew, why would anybody want to take that on? I'm like,
Yeah.
kind of fun.
Fun. What's the biggest thing that surprised you about yourself in being your own business owner? And would you call yourself an anxious person? Like, because we are the anxious creative. Yeah.
Definitely an anxious person.
Yeah. Because I know I held myself back for so long thinking I'm not capable of this.
Yeah. Well, and my anxiety comes out um in tears. So that is a little less than ideal. Go on an interview and you cry at the interview. That's me. I've
Yeah.
I've done that multiple times, and it's hard to want to put yourself out there like that. As I
Absolutely. It's funny because everyone's anxiety presents itself differently. And I know I've been told in the past that people thought I was a complete bitch. Because when my anxiety comes, I try to look calm and cool and collected on the outside. And in my efforts to try to look calm, I look like I've got a big FU on my face. And so I think crying is such like a superpower of yours, because you like either way, like whatever happens, however our anxiety presents, it's like the opposite of what we want it to be.
yeah, right.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
would much rather have the bitch face than
People are like, I thought you were such a snob. And I was like, oh my gosh, I was like panicking internally that whole time. I'm not glad that you thought I was like, had my shit together.
yeah.
Okay, so 2.5 years, and we connected, you joined Rock Your Business. Was it last year? Was it a year ago?
Yeah, it was a year ago.
Wow. And so what were some of the biggest aha moments, or how do you feel at your business or you've changed since going through that program?
I have changed so much in both my business and myself. I think I feel like I've come into myself, and kind of um, I'm more me than I have been before. So that's really nice. I'm more comfortable in my own skin. Um, and my business has changed a lot. So I have some systems in place. Like I finally have policies, like a no-show or cancellation policy, and enforce them when needed.
Yay, and people pay?
And yeah, they pay, and so that's that's good. And also, I charge for consultations now, which was crazy to me.
I love it.
But people are fine with it all the time, and I think it's because they see the value of it. Because I
Mm-hmm.
literally sit down and talk with them, and all of my attention is focused on them.
I love that you said, like, I thought it was crazy. So when you first heard about charging for a consultation, I don't know, was it first through me to charge for a consultation? Yeah. And you're probably like, yeah, no way. Like, walk me through the transition of being like, yeah, that sounds great, Dawn, but that's good for you and probably not for like, and that won't work for me, to like, then how did you arrive at I'm going to charge for consultations, and then having the like, oh, people pay it without batting an eye?
Yeah. So it was a little bit of a journey. It's like You know,
Mm-hmm.
people would pay for a consultation, but like everybody does free consultations. Why would they pay for one with me?
Yep.
They can get a free one from anyone.
Yeah.
And then, you know, it's like, oh, well, I am taking my time with consultation. I sit down and I'm with them for like a half hour. That's like a whole haircut's worth. If I have a couple of these back to back, I'm gonna make no money today.
Mm-hmm.
And I think, you know, learning that my time can be valuable was really, you know, a big push of charging for consultations.
Awesome. So walk me through that first time you charged for a consultation.
Um, so I it actually went just fine.
Were you nervous?
I was nervous. You know, I was getting a little bit sweaty when I
Mm-hmm.
hit my, you know, my tablet to check out, and I was like, "Oh my God, I can't believe I'm charging somebody to just sit and talk with me." It was,
Yeah.
you know, they signed it and it was fine. They were totally cool about it. They were super excited for their appointment to, you know, their hair appointment to actually come up and do the hair color and yeah. And early on, I actually had somebody that was not a good fit, and I forgot to charge her for her consultation.
Mm-hmm.
And so when I had contacted her saying, you know, oh, I can just charge you at your hair appointment, she's like, actually, you know, I'm not really sure about what I want, but I really want to pay you for the consultation for today. Because
Wow.
I had forgotten to pay, or, you know, charge her. And she's like,
Oh
but I
my
really want
gosh.
to. I mean,
That just gave me chills.
yeah. So she's like, you really took your time to sit down with me and talk to me, and I want to make sure that, you know, you get paid for your time. It's like, oh, that's so sweet.
That's
That's awesome.
amazing. And so now it's probably not like just second nature, like, oh yeah, you want to come in for consultation, this is what it costs. And do you find that these people that are seeing you now are more qualified clients, like people who like are the right fit for you and they trust you and value you?
Yeah, and they refer their friends to me or family to me. I have a gal that recently she came in for a consultation and paid, and then she brought her stepdaughter in before she even got her hair done. So she hasn't even had her hair appointment yet, and she brought her stepdaughter in for a consultation.
That's
Um,
amazing.
her stepdaughter for her color. So
I think it just really people, it's not that you've changed, but people now see your value
yeah,
and the respect. I always say it builds trust, respect, loyalty, and authority.
yeah, and I really think that it did. And you know, I use the template that you have in your Rock Your Consultations and Rock Your Business, and I tweaked it a little bit for my kind of business.
Mm-hmm.
But I go over all of those points and I tell them, we're going to go over this and this. And some of these questions might sound kind of weird, but it really helps me get to know you better. And I think they love that.
Yeah, that's
I
so
have,
awesome.
I have literally had people say, I love your consultations because I really feel listened to. I really feel like you listen to me. And I'm like,
Mm-hmm.
that's what I want. I want you to feel listened.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, Jen, I had no idea, but this makes me so happy. Okay, so that I feel like we could just chat about that for like hours and hours and hours. That's so cool. And that's such a huge win. And I'm so impressed. Now, okay, so you joined Rock Your Business last year and Rock Your Consultation. Now, in 2020, you decided to join like a high level mastermind group of mine. And that's when I've really gotten to know you really well. And I've seen just like from my perspective, tremendous growth in you over the last 10 months. Has it been 10, 9 months?
And
Despite this year kind of being thrown in the trash can in March. And I know you were crunching your numbers and you're even with the time off, you're even in a similar place as you were last year, even though you had what, 10 weeks off or something like that?
yeah. Yep.
That's really cool.
and I'm poised to make just as much, if not more, this year as last year.
So in like 3/4 of the time, basically, like 10 weeks is basically like 3 months off, 2.5 months off.
Yeah.
That's freaking cool. Because just imagine if you hadn't got shut down, where you'd be
Right.
at.
Yeah.
And so what would you, I don't want to put words in your mouth, but what would you say the mastermind has done for you?
I feel like having the support, and actually, I'm really glad that I had you this year with all the crap that has, happened. Just because it was so nice to have the support of the other gals in our group and from you, and to have something to focus on moving forward. And it was really nice. I really loved doing it.
And how would you say like what have the relationships been like with the other stylists in the group? Like, has that helped carry you?
Yeah, I think so. Everybody is a little bit different and has their own things going on, and it's really neat to hear about those things because you don't know somebody else's struggles or what they're going through, and with this kind of thing I get to hear about those kinds of things and learn about what it would be like to go through that, or if that ever happens to me, I have these examples of how other people have handled it instead of just being all like, oh my God, I'm so overwhelmed. I don't know what to do.
And do you find that hearing other people's scenarios and how they've navigated it has helped your own business?
Oh, definitely. Yeah.
Yeah, even if they're different.
Even if they're different, because there's almost always something that you can take from that and be like, oh, I love how she handled that, or I love, what they're doing with that. I want to tweak that and make something work for me that way.
That's cool.
And hope that, they can get similar kinds of things from me.
Yeah.
Even though I cry on every call.
But that's such a, like me and you both, we always end up tearing up together. And I think it's a really amazing thing to be able to feel fully. Yeah, I won't make you cry right now, or maybe I will.
I got my tissues ready to
go. I love it. So for someone who considers yourself an extroverted introvert, but an anxious person as well, you've moved across the country from the East Coast to the West Coast. You started your career over from scratch. You went out and became your own boss. You started charging for your time in consultations, and you invested in a high-level program, and then you invested in a high-level group coaching program. What would you say it's been worth it?
Oh, definitely.
Because I'm sure there's been ups and downs through all those changes.
Oh, yeah. There have been a bunch of ups and downs, but I feel like, I was going over some of my goals from last month, so I do monthly goals, and I hit a bunch of the really important goals from last month, and it was so exciting because they were higher than anything that I had put on there before, and I met and exceeded them by a bit, and that was really exciting.
That's cool.
And, it was really nice to have the support of the group, and I feel like I'm coming into my own, and it's really nice. I feel more me. I don't feel like I'm trying to be somebody else anymore.
That's, you know what? You just hit the nail on the head, because I think for my whole life, I'd see other business owners doing things and think, oh, that must be how I have to do it. Or this must be the path. And there is no one clear-cut path.
Yeah. Yeah. Like, I'm the only one at my salon that does things the way that I do. And sometimes I feel like an outsider, but it works for me. And it's really nice that, I've had the direction and the support to do those things, even though I feel weird or silly doing them sometimes. And, that shows it pays off for me.
Absolutely. And having the group be able to be like, no, you're doing it well and you're doing it right and keep doing it. Because I think we can feel alienated in our own local places. And then when we've got that community elsewhere that's cheering us on and supporting us, that's huge.
Yeah. And
yeah.
It's really nice because I can be hard on myself sometimes.
Can you, I put really high expectations on myself. When you zoom out 5 years from today, can you even fathom where you might be at? Where you've come from? Like 5 years ago, you landed in Oregon.
Yeah.
And the growth that's happened. Can you even kind of think of what, like, big dream, what do you think could be your reality in 5 years from now?
It's really hard to pin down, but I feel like, because I feel like I've grown and changed so much in the 5 years since I've moved here, and in directions that I never thought that I would. And, maybe something similar will happen in 5 more years. Maybe I'll lean more towards education or, opening my own place or I don't know.
Yeah. Sky's the limit.
Sky's the limit. Yeah. I feel a lot better dreaming again.
I love that.
Have dreams for a really long time. Here it is.
It's okay. Some people are just listening, so they don't even know that you're crying. Yeah. That must be so freeing to be able to dream again.
Yeah. I didn't think, before I moved here and went through all of this stuff, that doesn't happen to people like me or where I'm from. And
look at you, it is and it does. And I don't know about you, but sometimes I'll get so caught up in my day to day that when I stop and take a look at how far I've come, I'm like, holy shit.
Yeah.
I had no idea, because my reality now is just reality. So it's not that big of a deal. And then go, I never dreamed I would be like, I never thought I could be a business owner.
Yeah. No.
Yeah. And like, I'm not responsible enough. I'm too lazy. Those were things that I was told as a kid, like, you're lazy, you're not very responsible. Like, and those getting ingrained and thinking like, okay, someone said that to me once. Why am I letting this narrate the rest of my life?
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, Jen, I know there are people listening that so resound with your story, for sure. Where can people connect with you outside of listening to this episode?
So I am on Instagram and Facebook as Jen the Unicorn Stylist.
I love that.
And I have my website, jentheunicornstylist.com, but
that's awesome.
For client things, but
yeah, they can go peruse around. And because I know people are going to be inspired. So if you're listening to this and you relate to Jen, slide into her DMs.
Yeah.
And let her know.
Yeah, I'm always happy to, help somebody out or answer any questions if you have some questions.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I have to say thank you so much for coming on the podcast. You're such an inspiration to me. I love seeing how much you've grown over just even the last 9 months, but over the last year and a half. It's like night and day, a different person. And I'm really, really, for a lack of a better term, I'm really, really impressed and proud of all that you've achieved. And I cannot wait to see what you do next.
Thank you.
So thanks for being here.
Yeah, thanks for having me. This was fun.
All right. Wow. Isn't she so amazing? There's just a way that me and Jen always cry when we get together, but it's such like a beautiful superpower thing. And so if you enjoyed this episode, why don't you go shoot Jen a DM, shoot me a DM. I love hearing from you and hearing what you took from it, but also like, subscribe, leave a review and share this with your friends. That's the best way that you can give me a compliment on this episode. I can't wait to come back next week with another very special guest that you will not want to miss. So until then, we'll see you soon, friend.